Okay guys, so in today's video we're going to take a look at shares of Ford stock. So Ford stock did pretty well actually yesterday. So the stock was up about 3 to 4%, and I noticed that it was one of the more actively traded stocks on all of Wall Street. So the volume was ridiculously high. If you take a look at the numbers, it was over 100 million shares traded. So I decided to do a video on Ford. That was a really high volume, and I want to kind of update you guys on the situation that's going on at Ford Motors. Before I get into the video, guys, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos on Ford and other hot stocks in the markets today. So let's take a look at the situation on Ford. I actually made a video earlier about was Ford stock a good buy at $9, and of course, because of the whole coronavirus situation, that stock completely tanked. Okay, so ever since I published this video, the stock has absolutely plummeted, but it does look like we found a bit of support at around $4 or something like that. So I decided to publish this video on the Ford. So for me, my biggest mistake when I held Ford stock earlier was being emotional with Ford stock, because Ford was actually the first car that I ever drove. So I kind of had an emotional attachment to the company instead of the numbers. So I want to show you for reasons why. Me personally, I had to dump my Ford stock. I believe I sold the stock at around $7 to $8. And one of the reasons I simply got rid of the stock was that this was okay. So one of the reasons why I dumped Ford stock personally was because this is catching a falling knife syndrome, in one of the situations I hate being in when I'm an investor. As you can see here, this is the 5-year chart of Ford stock. While most stocks, most decent stocks out there, anything from Apple, Google, Amazon, you name it. Basically, a lot of companies were doing very, very well. So if you guys remember, just even a year or two ago, it seemed like you could buy almost any stock and make money in the stock market. Well, Ford was one of those stocks that continued to lose value, and this is the look at this very, very ugly 5-year chart. But one of the reasons that a lot of people were only holding Ford stock was because of that dividend. Well, basically, Ford has nixed their dividend. So take a look at what's been going on here. It says Ford shares have been hit hard over the last month for obvious reasons. The company's decision to close all of its factories in North America and Europe. So a lot of Ford's revenue has been basically cut off, and Ford has suspended their dividend. So as you can see here, with Ford's dividend suspended for the time being, one of the powerful bullish arguments for the stock is gone, or at least on hold for duration. So that was one of the reasons, only reasons why I personally held Ford stock. The good news about Ford stock is that they are one of the more cash heavy companies in the United States stock market. So the good thing about Ford is that Ford has always stockpiled cash, so they will probably survive this. I don't think Ford will go bankrupt. So I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. Let's take a look at Ford's balance sheet really quickly. And you can get all of this information by simply going to trading. Okay, so to take a look at how much cash Ford is holding, and they're one of the more cash heavy companies in the market, head over to Yahoo Finance. All you have to do is type in the ticker symbol and click the financials tab and head down to balance sheet. As you can see here, the total cash they held as of December 30th was about $34 billion. So hopefully Ford will have enough cash to weather this whole coronavirus epidemic, and the company has been around for a very, very long time. So I don't plan on them going bankrupt. So that is kind of a good. Okay, now let's take a look at their latest quarterly sales numbers. They just published these numbers just recently. So basically, how has the coronavirus affected Ford? Well, Ford's overall U.S. sales have declined 12%. And one of the more alarming things about Ford is the fact that they are really struggling to sell cars, and they have basically transformed into a basically truck and SUV only company here. The car sales were down 36% versus Q1 2019. SUV sales down and truck sales down as well. So one of the problems with Ford for me is the fact that Ford has simply given up on selling cars, and I understand why, because they want to go over higher margin vehicles. But Ford has cut their dividend, and their sales are declining, and all their factories are closed. So one of the only bright signs about Ford in general is that it says with sales of 186,562 pickups, the F Series begins the year as America's best-selling vehicle. So that is one of the positives for Ford. But one of the reasons why I only held the company in general was because it was my first car and it paid the dividend. So I'm out of the stock. So what do I think about where Ford stock will go in the future? Well, to me, the numbers just don't look good. And the problem with Ford for me is that they are so slow to transition into an electric company. I know they have some excellent products in the pipeline and things like that, but if you look at the speed that Tesla has already built a 20,000 supercharger network, power charging network across the country, the United States, how fast Tesla has a factory in China, and the speed at which they move, it just seems like to me Ford is focused on too many different things. They have so many different products, and they're making hybrids, gas, car. They're so unfocused for me, and that's the problem I have with Ford stock. It's not really focused. So now all of their revenue has been cut. They're not selling cars, and in Q2, Ford stock is going to see a huge, probably bearish decline because their revenue is going to tank because the production is closed and people are stockpiling money and they're buying essentials, food, water, rent, things like that. They're not really spending money on cars. So for me, Ford is a sell. I'm staying away from Ford stock. I already told you guys earlier what I felt about it and how I'm on board with Tesla. And the reason I'm on board with Tesla is because Tesla is a customer focused company and Ford is a competitor focused company. So what do I mean by that? Well, what I'm saying with that is simply that it seems Ford is always reacting to what other people are doing. And now they're on the heels of Tesla and they're trying to transform into an electric company where they invented the car. They should have seen how more consumers want an electric car, how they're sick and tired of noisy, loud, smelly, expensive cars that cost a ton of money to fill up with gasoline, that just give them hassles, break down, need more expensive maintenance and things like that. They should have already seen that trend changing. And Tesla to me, it just seems like a much more diversified company, and it just seems like it's just more forward thinking. So for me, I prefer Tesla stock. For me, Ford, I stay away. I will not be owning Ford stock anytime soon. So where do I think Ford stock is going within the next couple weeks? Okay, so for me, Ford stock, I don't want to touch Ford stock anymore. I already moved it out of my portfolio and replaced it with Tesla. So that's what I have to say about Ford. If you guys enjoy, please give and subscribe to my channel. And what are you doing with Ford? Selling, paying away like I am? Let me know in the comments. If you guys want me to cover any other stocks, please let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to respond and make a video on your specific stock or